Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Or good
Good
afternoon.
evening.
Or good morning.
Good day. Howdy.
Howdy. Thank you very much for coming onto the channel tonight, my lovely friends Chris.
Thank you for having us, darling.
Thank you for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
It's kind of like, Chris, we were on together last night having a chat.
I know we were, weren't we?
And it's kind of like the sequel to this, or perhaps the afterglow party.
We kind of have been, sort of, oh, look at this. I'm getting
that. I mean, they were, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they were on Sacred Tarot with Chris Butler. If you have not liked and subscribed, do it now.
Do it now. It was a very funny.
It was great.
Very quickly.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It did go quick, didn't it?
Do watch it on double speed if you need to.
We couldn't shut up, could we? And you kind of said, well, do you want to come back to this one on mine tonight? And I did. So it's lovely to be here.
It's very nice to have both of you here.
Here as well. So we'll kind of cause more chaos than we even did last night. Yeah.
Well, and just to be clear, know your limits, purchase responsibly. We're not trying to sell decks, but I think the two of you, you're like longtime friends who've just met.
Yeah.
And you share this wonderful, and you're both, heaping praise in your general directions. Be careful.
Okay. Bring it on.
You are articulate. You are well studied. You are intelligent. You're okay to look at. You're funny.
Right,
Charlie, flattery will get you everywhere.
Oh, that's very
and I want credit for not baking a cake after I watch that damn video. Am I allowed to say damn video?
You are. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So, and I did not bring a cake or anything like that for this. So there you go.
We are deck purchase enablers, though, aren't we? Because I think the thing is, every time purchase responsibly, but we are very enthusiastic about the decks we were talking about.
We are, and I think we're honest about them as well. I don't think we ever go. We don't necessarily glamorize it for the sake of glamorizing some of the decks, and we're quite picky on some of the things. And Gerald and I have done this before many times. We've kind of gone, yes, when we've had a casual.
But I'm sort of, I don't know about you. I'm kind of a firm believer. If I'm going to, if I'm going to talk about a deck, or if like we've been doing through these videos, if I'm going to showcase a deck, it's got to be something that I passionately believe in, and something that I've worked with and I know works well for me. That doesn't mean to say that it's going to work for everyone, but at least if I'm showcasing that deck, I know that I can come from a place where I passionately believe in what that artist or deck creator has created. I don't see the point otherwise, because nobody wants to sit around for an hour listening to me about grousing about decks that I don't like and bitching about authors and artists I can't sort of connect with. And the crazy thing is, I mean, that's got nothing to do with the author or an artist. It just says a lot about me not getting it. So you think, well, why bother? Because that's something I did learn as a deck creator, is that anyone who actually manages to get a full finished deck out there deserves a medal for
absolutely
for sadistic endurance, because it really does. And if I don't get it, then that is literally, it's just not the deck for me, whereas it will very definitely be the deck for someone else. So you talk about the decks that you love,
it's not the deck for you right now. So,
and it's true that the community on here, there's everyone's got different tastes. That's an obvious thing to say, but it's interesting just talking to other people and getting different viewpoints on it. And that's the great thing about TarotTube, is that we're showing off decks the whole time so that people can make an informed decision about whether it's for them or not.
Like on Tuesday, April 12th, 9 p.m. BST, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 1 p.m. We're doing a deck casual for the Quantum Tarot version 2.0.
I'm in awe of this man. He's my walking publicity machine. You're fabulous.
Yeah.
And Richie will be there, Chris will be there, Elemental Cartomancy Chris will be there. Nancy Paper Moon Tarot will be there. And we're talking about the artwork of this. We're not talking about quantum mechanics about it.
We could talk about quantum mechanics, but we'd have to Google it first.
If you want to completely put me on the spot.
Okay, and I also have an Anna K deck casual tomorrow.
Wow.
I am shameless. I'm not shameless. This is not shameless. Yeah, but
a beautiful deck.
It is. And I also have the Lenormand, and I have not started with the Lenormand, but it goes back to that idea, I think, Chris and Richie. The huge benefit of doing a deck casual for me is I get so much out of it. I mean, when it was like with Jane the Seeker Tarot and Jamie, we were talking about the soul. God, it's right over there, and I can't reach for it. Soul, the Soul Luna Tarot. Anyhow, but I was one of my cards that I struggled with. Jane loved, and I was like, when I heard what she said, and I'm like, going, oh, that's good, because now every time I see the Four of Pentacles, I'm going to remember that. So I think that's the beauty in it.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because when you're actually discussing, I mean, this is one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Tuesday. I mean, it's interesting. We're discussing a deck that I illustrated, but the thing for me is I can't be objective with that deck. I'm so close to it. It's going to be wonderful hearing other people's perspective as how they've responded to that artwork. But you know, if you're discussing any other deck, I mean, that's a different instance in that I created it, but just the conversations that we've had over decks.
Yeah.
One of the things I've loved in the short time that I've known you both, I've then gone back to those decks with a totally widened perspective, and I'm seeing things in them that I wouldn't have seen but for you. And it's given me a deeper appreciation of decks I've lived with for years. And
how do you feel about this? Have you had this kind of happen before with your decks? People sort of include you in a conversation like this, or have you never done it?
I mean, this is going to be really interesting because I've done written interviews. I did written interviews over the Quantum Tarot, over the Sun Tarot, for online blogs. I did a really enjoyable one I did a couple of years ago for the Healing Light Tarot for the American Tarot Association, but I've never actually discussed on camera my work like this. So it's going to be really interesting because you're getting real-time feedback. When you're doing online stuff, it's great. You'll chat to the person that is doing the interview, but then they'll send you a list of questions and then you'll answer those. But this is great because I can also ask you questions about how you're working with that. How are these cards working for you? What works, what doesn't work, and also for me, it's fascinating getting people's subjective responses to the images. That's what really fascinates me because, as the artist, you see it in one way. But then there's been times when people, you're talking to people and you realize that they've actually read something completely different into your artwork. And in effect, that piece of artwork has taken on a life of its own, which is just, it's so exciting.
It's brilliant. Yeah. As an artist, having somebody to be able to look at and then read into it and really, truly connect at a level that you didn't. That's the emotive response of art, I think. Yeah. Art
people
and music and all that.
The artist have the deepest response to that work because you created it. The reality is you don't. You're too close to it. You're not objective, and also you've kind of channeled it in a way. So actually, very often the most powerful responses are the people that are receiving it. And as the artist, I learn more from people who use the deck, use any of my decks than about those images than I did while I was creating them. That's the really exciting bit. So actually doing this on camera is fabulous.
Excellent. Should we say hello to a few people before we start fiddling and dabbling?
Let's do it.
Joe was the first one in today. Hi, Joe.
Hi,
Joe.
Hi, Joe. Calla, good evening. Hello to you, Calla, Lily. Lovely. And Joan's here. I remember Joan was in last night, wasn't she, with us?
Joan was. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Joan.
Lovely to see you back.
And
Hello.
Deb's here. Hi, Purple Elephant Deb. Lovely to have
Deb.
you here. And let's have a look through. Orshi is here. Hello, Orshi, my lovely.
Orshi.
Have you here? There's comments here about us looking alike. Hello there, Elliot. Good to see you here.
Hey, hi.
Seeing all your lovely photos on Facebook and things. So I think it was following you around
here tonight. That's lovely.
I know.
Oh, Fran's back. Hi, Fran.
Oh, Fran. I'll just find Fran.
Yeah. And it's lovely to see Kristen Louise as well and Antoinette.
Oh, hi, Kristen.
Lots of chat there.
Yeah.
So, hello, Fran. Welcome. Kristen's here. Hi, Kristen. And Tony's here. Hello to you. And Dita was in last night as well. So lovely to have you here as well. So welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the channel. Hope I haven't missed anyone out. If I have, I do. Oh, Debbie's here as well. So hello, Debbie.
Yay.
Welcome to you too. And
it's everyone.
Work wants me to show up and not watch YouTube on Saturday, says Joan. Oh, that's a shame. Well, joy of YouTube is always there to catch up. There's always a video out there, isn't there? So there we go. No cake tonight, I'm afraid, but a lovely glass of red.
No cake. But that'll do nicely. Fran, I've got a confession to make. I was late, so not only have I got no cake, I've not even got my tea here, but I have got my decks.
You need to go off and make it.
I might percolate at some stage, but I'll wait for a strategic moment.
We can handle it. Richie and I can fill the void.
We'd probably be able to find something to talk about for 5 minutes.
We'll talk about you while you're gone.
Irene.
You could just say whatever you want behind my back as long as you don't say it to my face. Ignorance is bliss as far as I'm concerned.
It's actually more fun to say it to your face so that we can see the reaction.
I do give quite good reactions, don't I?
You do. You're good at those ones. So,
by the way, the tiny hands will not come out today.
I'm pleased to hear.
Oh, will they not?
They will not.
No. I'm disappointed.
Do you want me to close this broadcast early?
They're not coming out now. The hands that are really dry, because the winter and the heat has been just awful, but they're wearing the Regina Faro and Wirecraft.
They're not the tiny hands.
They're working and listening as we speak.
They're the sort of evil embittered hands. I like those.
They're like Richie's soul.
Did you paint the names on those?
See, it's like this.
Those hands would have looked so good on the box design. I wish I could have photoshopped them in somewhere.
Yeah, that's what you need. A pair of hands.
My moon card with the moon being held by a pair of those,
Yeah. Deb H loves those hands.
I like them. I like them because they can wear jewelry.
They've got jewelry, yeah.
That's nice.
And if I do it right, then they're jazz hands.
It's not the kind of jazz I'd want to be listening to, love. They give me nightmares.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
I'm just dabbling and fiddling. I'm just being silly.
You brought that up because it's now time to talk about what we're going to talk about: fiddling and dabbling. Now, how did this come about? Gerald and I were having a chat the other day. We just mentioned the word. How did it happen? You're a dabbler. Is that the conversation?
I am a dabbler, but now I don't know if I agree with it with the definition that we got.
So let's put the definition up of what we're talking about.
Bear in mind, darlings, that I only jumped into this last minute, didn't I? Because it was only last night.
You did. You're off the hook, Chris.
I'm on the fence. I haven't decided whether I'm fiddling or dabbling yet.
Will you let us know by the end of tonight?
Possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
You don't have to think about it. So fiddling and dabbling, it's to do with our practices, perhaps our tarot, oracle, all that side of it all, that perhaps we may kind of have a go at occasionally or pick up and put down, that kind of thing. That's how I'm interpreting it. How about you two? Would you interpret it that way, or are you going to take a slightly different stance?
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's how it came up, because there was a conversation about different things that we have each done, but we haven't stuck with them.
Yeah.
Or we kind of put them off.
Yeah.
Get halfway and then sort of stop and put it off. And
put it off, put it away for a little while, pick it up again, that kind of thing. So anyone that's listening, I better read out the definitions. Dabble is to take part in an activity in a casual or a superficial way. And fiddle is to touch or fidget with something in a restless or nervous way. Okay. And those are the definitions we're going with. We're not going with any other kinds of definitions that may be coming up. So,
Darling, I've just noticed that Calla has put a really, really important philosophical question in chat here, because she's actually asked, there we go, do you fiddle and then dabble, or the other way around, or do you fiddle and dabble together?
I don't know if you can fiddle and dabble together.
Could have a bloody good try.
Is that called faddling then, if you do them both?
Probably, yeah. Gerald's looking.
I was actually commenting to something that, and by the way, Calla Lily, I believe, is Liz.
Oh, hello, Liz.
So I'm looking at my little cards that Richie keeps reminding me. You really need to type those up and share them with us. But jazz hands of death.
There's a lot of thoughts about can we do them at the same time. Kristen thought we were going to get our violin and become a trio out. No, it's not that kind of fiddling. And all she's just gone down another road altogether.
Kenneth Williams would have had something to say about that. He would have just pursed his lips and said, matron
Actually, I think a lot of us fidget with tarot cards, self-soothing. That's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Faddling, yes, we can faddle. Fiddle faddle is delicious. So yeah,
it's a snack. Have you ever had fiddle faddle?
No.
It's I don't know exactly what it is. If if somebody in the chat wants to post it, it's a sweet and salty snack, I believe.
I
thought fiddle faddle was just like nonsense. Like that's a load of fiddle faddle. That's how I've always used it.
Like everything on my channel, Richie. Are you calling me out?
Now, ladies.
This is my first caffeine of the day. Okay.
Your first.
My first caffeine. I was up earlier than that, Richie, but I was up rather late because I couldn't fall asleep. I was worried about this.
Liz says it's candy coated popcorn.
So it's probably like Cracker Jacks.
Right.
Yeah. And look, we're all learning Liz's name and going to remember it, so that's good.
We will. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So
we will assume, for argument's purposes, that I am dabbling for the time being. If I discover otherwise, I will come out accordingly midway through the conversation.
You can change your thoughts as many times as you like this evening. This is this is a safe space. I'd like that to be said.
It is.
So, Chris, you feel like you can come out as many times as you like as a fiddler or a dabbler, but not a faddler.
Or you can be ambi with it. You can be ambi with it and just fluid.
I might be fluid with it.
I might be bi, darling. I mean, I might want to fiddle and dabble simultaneously and alternately.
Well, people can put that in the suggestions then, perhaps today, whether they think that is a case.
Oh my gosh!
I had a conversation with Gerald that we'd be going down this road. But... Right, he's going to start us off. Gerald, I'm going to put it over to you. Something that you fiddle or dabble with, and sort of why? Why perhaps do you not devote 100% to it? Is that a fair thing to say for fiddling and dabbling?
Yes, or stick with it long enough to really understand it.
Longevity. Yeah.
Longevity, yes. Longevity. Because let's face it, I have enough tarot cards to last me, I could use one a month and, well, I don't know. I could be very old if I just use them. One thing that What?
I'm surprised by that fact.
Really? I believe you. Astrology.
Ah,
And I love these decks.
hmm
I bought them hashtag Candy. No, Candy didn't make me do it. Candy of Candy Soul and Soil talked about how she uses these, and she uses them in such a way that it really, she uses them in her tarot practice as well as her other practices,
Yeah.
and it really helps to support her and honor her.
Ah,
And it's actually quite beautiful. She has done some I mean, and this is a lovely deck. This is an amazing deck because it's 72 lunar oracle cards, 128 page guidebook, and that guidebook includes moon phase tables
right.
for quite a few years. So and so that is something that I've tried to do. And in fact, to be honest with you, I actually did a tarot card reading to figure out what I was going to focus on this year, and I had a list of 5 things, and 2 of them popped up, and as the yeah, it's long and complicated, but 2 of them came up as these are 2 good things that you should do, and I've decided not to just dabble with the one that I've chosen. I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
I'm not buying every book that I find out about the subject, which is Zen Buddhism. I'm not buying all sorts of books. I'm getting a book and I'm reading it. So I'm going slow. And hashtag word of the year, I'm being intentional with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but these are, I mean, astrology is something that I'm curious about, but I have not stuck with it. So that would be a dabble. And so maybe it's more of a fiddle because I've gone, oh, I feel like I should do this. I want to do this. It'd be nice. It could add an element to my divination.
I think we're very similar in this respect because I have a very similar relationship with astrology. I just feel that it would, if I deepen my knowledge of astrology, it would really enrich my tarot and oracle readings.
Yeah.
I know enough, but actually I kind of always feel as if I've only dabbled enough to kind of gain the bare essentials for what I need. Whereas I think I could gain so much more. You know, I envy my friends who've got a really rich working knowledge of astrology. You know, it's particularly my, I don't know, either of you have ever come across a wonderful tarot reader called Marion Kirk. She's a friend of mine. And Marion's my encyclopedia for astrology.
Oh.
Just it's completely instinctive for her, and she's steeped in it, and you know, and it really enriches her tarot practice. So I kind of I love her and I envy her at the same time, you know.
And Amy at Mystic Rose Tarot, she's been on my channel and I've watched her do readings. She keeps saying she's not an astrologer. She has a lot of knowledge that really supplements and supports what she's saying and offers a suggestion on how to balance, because a lot of times I struggle with, you know, tarot is a great way for self-discovery and self-awareness and informed decision making. And if I'm stuck, if something's all Aquarius is going on, I'm making this up, hashtag I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, if it's all Aquarius, then perhaps I need some Taurus with it.
Yeah.
I don't know what, you know, that probably is like going to cause the world to implode.
Yeah.
Got a question.
So, yes.
What's that?
Do you think, as you know, tarot readers, as we are, that we kind of feel that we should know more about astrology to unlock a lot of the meanings? And you know, quite often people will say, well, the emperor is, you know, the Aries and all those signs there, and I don't know any of that particularly well, and so I tend to stay away from it. And I know that's a big warehouse full of knowledge to go through. Does that kind of put you off a little bit when you do your readings, or do you actually try and sort of incorporate any of that in, or you just go, no, I'm not dabbling with that? I
think we've probably incorporated a lot of it without realizing that we have, because I think so much of the traditional tarot teaching that we've absorbed has its roots in astrology anyway. But there is a part of me that would just like that fluency and confidence that some of my colleagues have got. I mean, Kay Stockbrook, who I created, who scripted the Quantum Tarot and wrote, basically it was all her concept. Kay was again really fluent, and she had a passion for astrology, and it was Kay that really began to spark my interest. But yeah, I think we probably have a lot of it. But I would like to sort of know, like to have that instinctive understanding of how it all connects. I would like more of that. What about you, Gerald?
I agree, and it depends upon the deck. Like the Kira Marchetti Something of Dreams.
Tarot of Dreams,
Tarot of Dreams.
That was gifted to me because it had astrology in it. The Robert M. Place has a lot of astrology with it. To be honest with you, I get overwhelmed, and then I don't, because a lot of what I have done is intuitive.
Yes.
I don't have any intuition with it, and so it just is like, I mean, I'm not afraid of hard work. It just is one of those things that it's a lot of hard work, and I need support. This is one of those things. I think I'd do well if I took a class.
Yeah. I really agree there. I mean, I've got one of my treasures. This was a gift off Kay when we finished the Quantum Tarot, and I was absolutely thrilled and horrified in equal measures.
Wow.
Because I mean, look at the size of it. And it's beautiful. It is stunning. Hang on, let me see if I can get this on camera. I mean, bear in mind this was before computer.
A lot.
There's a lot, but then it's also lavishly illustrated. It's fascinating. It's mystical. It's intriguing, but it's big. And I think I treasure this and I refer to it. But at the same time, I think classes would do me a lot of good, because it would kind of break the fear and sort of I think sometimes it's just a case of actually breaking the fear and the mystique, and I think it works the other way as well, isn't it? Because we take tarot for granted. We kind of move in that in that world, and it's a world we're comfortable with. Whereas I realised that actually a lot of people have the same almost daunted response to tarot that I have to astrology.
Sure.
So, I think that's really important to remember, Chris, is that when we started off in tarot, it was this massive universe that we felt like we had to and we continued, and we still continue. That's why we're doing this chat now. That's why we watch we're continually learning about the tarot.
Right.
Then suddenly for me to go, okay, I need to do astrology now, it's just for like it's like the east wing to have to go and explore. And it's like, wow, I don't think I've got, I don't feel proficiently enough that I've learned enough about the tarot at the moment, and I want to take that on. So suddenly to then take on another huge, what seems a huge understanding of astrology, just seems almost like, no, I'm not gonna dabble with that one.
Yeah.
So you are.
So that's me.
Yeah. I'm just going to say hello to a few people. Kristen's just said she's dabbled in the Mary L, and so can I continue to be unable to read with it. That's interesting, actually, is like the fact that if we dabble, we're still trying to get this kind of under our belt, but we don't ever give it the 100% focus that would actually make it easier, possibly, isn't it?
Right.
That's what we're talking about here. If we actually just sat down and went, well, am I going to do this or not? It would make life a lot easier, wouldn't it? Hi, Ellie. Good to see you here.
Hi, Ellie.
And Zane is here as well. Hello, Zane.
Oh, Zane.
Hi. As well. Robin says he's dabbled today in venturing out for groceries, and now in a crabbier mood than usual. The weather's beautiful, and we know that brings so make me wish for country life. Well, I'm glad that you got out and your back's better, Robin. So that's nice to know. So,
Yes.
So, yeah. What about you then, Chris? Have you want to share one of your dabbling or fiddling events?
I've got a couple of sort of dabbles and fiddle. Do you know what? Let's start with the sort of really obvious one. Playing card divination.
Oh, okay.
Now, this fascinates me because my love of tarot has its roots in a love of playing cards. My grandmother was a passionate player of cards. There were always playing card decks lying around at Nana's when I was a young kid. And of course, as you know, for a child with a very visual bent, as I was, playing cards fascinated me because all the patterns and colors on the court cards. And the thing is, if Nana ever was looking for a playing card, she'd know that I was kind of sat there just leafing through them. And, you know, it's like nothing's changed because I kind of still sit there with cards like now, you know, at 55. But the crazy thing is, I learned to read tarot, but what actually fascinated me before that was the prospect of reading playing cards, not just playing games with them.
Oh, yeah.
And here I am at 55. I decided a couple of years ago that I was going to do this. So I actually decided that the best way to learn is to create. So I actually created my own deck of like semi-transformation playing cards specifically for reading with. Crazy thing is, I kind of finished designing the deck before I kind of perfected the technique of reading with them. And you know, when you realize that you can't even remember when you stopped trying, but this is something that you really should take up again. And it's daft. Because if somebody said to me, do us a reading with these, I probably could, but I would be foisting tarot meanings onto playing cards because I haven't actually taken the time to really practice enough to get proficient. And I think what it is, it's lack of practice means that you get rusty and then you forget, because I put a lot of research into these, never did anything with them. And at the time when I was designing them, you know, I designed them with very specific divinatory meanings in mind, but I kind of proved myself the ultimate dabbler because somewhere along the line, I just put this down and stopped trying. And it was funny because when we were talking about doing this, I hadn't thought about this, and all of a sudden it was literally 20 minutes before we came on, and I thought, you know, that is the one instance that I am most guilty of dabbling. I've actually got two decks that you know, this one I finished, there's another one that's unfinished, that is another area that I've dabbled and fiddled with and then sort of lost heart.
So I was going to say, what makes you, why do you think you dabble in it but never kind of gone the whole hog? Any thoughts?
I think it's interesting. It's something that you said about astrology very often. You know, when you you take too many journeys on at once, and you know, and like you said, you know, obviously you're still very much aware of how much more you've got to learn about tarot. Therefore, taking another major system. And I think at the time when I did these, I mean, actually, these had their roots, I think, back in about 2013, because the early versions of them I originally designed as the playing card inserts for my first Lenormand deck that was published by Schiffer. Some of them haven't changed. I mean, in the case of the Ace of Clubs, I didn't change anything. I just carried that over into this deck. And it was when I did those that it kind of piqued my curiosity. And I thought, you know, let's just, you know, let's stretch that out and make it into a full deck of playing cards.
Sure.
And I'd always had this thing. You know, it fascinated me when you kind of saw gypsy fortune tellers in old film, just reading from a deck of cards, and there's a kind of mystique because there's no symbolism on them, you know, but you know, it's a system and it's a code. But I think I was doing too many other things at the time, and I wasn't single-minded enough, and it just got left behind.
And I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind if you really want to take it away from fiddle or dabble. You focus only on that for a period of time.
Exactly.
You put everything else away, and it's like I read the Wildwood Tarot, I think in 2020, and I so every day I read some of that book, just to really do it, and it's that deeper dive. So
And I think for
How
me,
do you feel? Sorry, how do you feel about that now, Gerald? Do you think that you've mastered the wildwood, or have you still got?
I have not mastered it, but now I'm not feeling awkward when I use it. It's like when you meet somebody for the first time at a cocktail party and you're having that uncomfortable, weird conversation. But now when I pull the deck out, it's more of the, oh, yes, I remember that. Okay, I remember that. And so, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Should we have a little? Lots of people commenting, which is great. I'm probably going to go back to a little bit about astrology again because people that fired up quite a bit of conversation there. So Ellie says, "I love using astrology decks in line up houses and signs and planets in my own birth."
Oh wow!
So much sense. You sounds like you're very naturally gifted at that one there. Liz says, I started with astrology and worked with it for years and still do. Perhaps that's the secret. We have to start and work with it there on that one there. Hello, Hillary. Good to have you here. Just popping in to say hi. Second week of COVID. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're on the mend soon.
Get well soon, darling.
Yeah. Deb says, I try to understand astrology, so I'm thinking that's more of a fiddle than a dabble for me. Yeah. And backyard naturalist.
Laura.
It's Laura, isn't it? Yeah. As far as astrology goes, I practice intentional dabbling.
Intentional dabbling. I like that. That's good.
Hashtag that. Intentional dabbling. And Mark's here as well. Hello, Mark. I practiced astrology for 30 years before taking on the tarot. Easier concentrating on one or the other at the time. Generally speaking, tarot is easier to pick up quickly, but both take much time to pass. That's interesting, actually. I thought if you'd gone in that way round, how much easier it actually is to go that way there.
Yeah.
That's some lovely.
I think maybe because tarot gives you visual cues in a very direct way. So I think you can pick a tarot deck up and get to a point where you can read fluently fairly quickly, but actually that sort of journey of enrichment and then really getting the most out of it that you can is a much longer journey.
Robin says, I love the option of helpful books. It's very true about the wildwood, I think, but I hate being forced to slog through it in order to enjoy a deck. I'm having that right now with an oracle deck I've just recently.
Oh, right. Which one?
I've just bought the Beowulf oracle, which is fabulous. I have to say the artwork in it is astonishing.
It looks gorgeous. Yeah.
But it's not a case of, pick a card and go with it. It's quite a complex system of reading that goes with it all. And I was going through that today thinking, by the time I've, learned how to pick all these different cards and where they're going and stuff, I've then got to try. Anyway, I'll talk about oracle cards a bit more in a minute, but that's my fiddle faddle. So, and Laura says, is burnout the opposite of dabbling, I wonder?
Possibly, yeah, because I think if you're
that's good.
I think if you're kind of trying to take a system on at the wrong time for you, and then you're persevering when actually it's probably best just to let it lie for a while, then probably it is.
Yeah, you don't want to start something about astrology in a sign that's not going to be conducive for you to learning it, right?
You said something to me, Joe, before, didn't you, about where we were talking about decks that aren't for us, and then you immediately said not for us yet.
Yeah.
And it really made me think about a couple of the decks I've got that actually probably it's not the right time just to be working with them yet, but they'll come into their own in the future.
Yeah, sure. I had that with the Druid Craft. It took me 2 or 3 years to actually.
And yet that's one of your central decks.
And that's the one I just use. I've got several hundred versions of the deck. I've got different themed ones now. I've themed them up for the seasons. But it's one of my top 5. So but it took me 2 or 3 years to get into that place. So hang on. Tony says, you made Richard laugh. He walked in, as you said, you're like to get your deck out. Honestly, these builders smile. These builders smile. I always have to be very careful with that statement, talking about decks. I always enunciate it quite well so that it doesn't get misconstrued.
Yes, before we go live, I actually do the deck.
Deck. Deck, 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 deck.
What was
So
the
here's Chris, Elemental Cartomancy.
Oh,
And he'll be with this too.
He
Yes,
is
he will.
coming in. Yes.
I'm really looking forward to actually chatting with you in person. So that's going to be wonderful.
He was playing Lego Star Wars and he didn't realise what he was missing. Were you dabbling or fiddling with the Lego? That's the question, Chris.
That's the question we all want to know.
I'm going to show you what I fiddle and dabble with now.
Okay.
One of my fiddle and dabble is decks that are unusual for various different reasons that I just get very excited about and then pick up and put down. And a good example of this is a Kickstarter I backed, the Phantom Tarot. Now it was kickstarted last year, I think it was. It took a bit of time to come through. The backs are fabulous. They're very glossy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
I like.
The illustrations are not my thing, I have to be honest.
Oh, no, that's interesting. That's not what I expected.
No, my camera's a bit, it's not focused on my lovely face right now and not on the cards. But the reason why it's different is that it's one that you have to put your phone to and it makes the picture.
Oh,
yes.
And all the blue bits basically on here. So things like the bag and on, let's try and find something. So here, like the Page of Pentacles, the bluey, that will glow really brightly on your phone. And obviously I can't show you what it looks like here.
But basically, it's a virtual reality deck, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So and I got really excited about this, and I'm still really excited about this. And even though the developer and artist have done a fantastic job and has updated the app constantly so that you can have little avatars that pop around, and it's really easy to use. It does work really well when you shine your phone onto it, and it certainly improves a lot. I just can't. I've got a real excitement for it, but I just keep putting it down and picking it up again, and I don't quite know what I'm looking for in this deck.
The novelty has worn off.
No, I don't know if it has worn off.
No,
I'm
okay.
beginning to wonder if it was ever there in the first place. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Isn't it funny though? Doesn't it kind of put a question mark over what we actually get from tarot?
Exactly.
Because isn't it strange how, in theory, what an amazing concept.
Yeah.
But, and this is not denigrating the concept or the deck, but actually when it comes to actually asking the question of what we as individuals get from tarot, doesn't it say a lot that in the face of that, what's actually happening is you're then putting that down and going back to your druidcraft?
Yeah.
So it actually then, you're asking questions of, oh, I'm obviously getting something from the druidcraft that goes deeper than I realized.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't have thought about that, but what are we looking for in the tarot? Because, when you see something like that, what an incredible concept. And what an amazing potential to enrich the experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, for somebody, it may well be. But
I'm sure there's people out there that absolutely really love it.
Yeah.
And in theory, it should be everything I've kind of wanted in a deck, something that's a bit exciting. I don't know if it's just the artwork. Perhaps it's the artwork that just doesn't do it. It's a bit.
Artwork is a really difficult one because it is so subjective. Because, I know there are several decks that I recognize as masterpieces while also acknowledging that I couldn't use them in a million years.
Couldn't use it.
And it is no bad reflection on the deck creator or the artist, but their vision is in a different place from mine. But then the wonderful thing is, I know, God, what a drab place it'd be if the only decks that people could use were mine. It's the fact that there's that massive diversity of vision experience within, the body of tarot that's out there that makes it the amazing thing that it is. But maybe it's probably just not a deck for you at this given moment.
Yeah,
right.
That might be a deck that sparks to life in the future, and then all of a sudden you think, "Wham! I've got it." Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it possibly will be. And that's possibly the reason why I do keep dabbling with it and going,
Yeah.
It's just the time to be looking at it or something like that. Yeah. I'm just having a look at some chat. Yeah. So other people have got it. So Robin's got the Phantom.
Robin's
Yeah.
got it,
And your ring light is fighting for the attention. Sorry about that one. It is the 3D one. Yeah. Yeah, Tony, it was. I didn't know about that aspect. I just viewed this deck with an energy glow perspective.
Oh, nice.
You need to get the app for there if you got that one, Robin. Is it a PS5 game?
No, that's the Star Wars.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And Robin says, I think I too often look for tarot to give me messages rather than having to go to search out and dig for them. Does that just make me lazy? No, I don't think it does. It's
no.
Sometimes that's what tarot's about. I mean, I think the most powerful readings are when the tarot just triggers your intuition and wham, it just springs up. And whereas there are other times when, I think there's a place for both. I don't think it's lazy to expect the tarot to gift those insights, but then there's also times when you know that you will kind of consciously dig deeper. But I think both alongside each other are equally valid.
Yeah.
Liz says, I find the tarot to be a deeper, more personal experience than astrology these days. I don't mind the whiz bang aspect to cards of astrology, but they are more passing interest, not a real interest. Well, that was an interesting round one.
Wasn't it just?
Before we go into round two, I'm going to throw a spanner into the works there. You can think, don't have to answer this now, you can answer it later. Has there been a time when you have dabbled or perhaps fiddled and it has paid off? Now I'm going to give you an example just to help you out with this one. When I was learning the tarot many years ago, I had a massive problem with the court cards, learning them, which is what a lot of people often do. So much so that I used to do readings that involved taking the court cards out and just using them. And for many years, I got a mental block on these cards. And it was only about 5-6 years ago that I actually thought, Richard, this is stupid. I'm going to have to come up with my own way of dealing with this. And so for many years, I've been dabbling with the court cards and spent a lot of time reading books and watch videos and stuff. And so I actually just thought one day, right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to come up with my own ruddy system that makes sense to me, that doesn't involve hair colors, skin tones, astrology, signs, professions, whatever it is. I just need to get this one under my belt. And because I got cross with myself for fiddling or dabbling, I actually kind of gave myself that space to go, yeah, let's do this. And I'm really happy that that happened because I now love the court cards. In fact, I would love to do readings just with court cards. So that's an example of what I'm talking about when fiddling and dabbling has actually paid off. Do you have any moments you can think of like that? Or do you want to come back on that one?
You've actually just made me realize something that I haven't quantified before, because actually that's how I just hadn't thought about the fact that that's how my Lenormand journey started. I fiddled and dabbled because it was when Kay and I were working on the Quantum Tarot. She bought a Lenormand deck and there weren't many available at the time. It was back in the early 2000s. There was a couple of low Scarabeo ones. She'd kind of fiddled around with it and just not taken to it at all. And she said, do you want this? I'd never seen one. Well, I thought I hadn't. Then I realized I had, because I'd seen them as antique cigarette cards, because you used to, in the 20s, you could, you could collect a whole Lenormand deck through cigarettes in the UK.
Oh my.
Which I now have one of those. But I kind of, there was nothing in English at the time. And it was Lee Burston who actually said to me, get Titania's Fortune cards, because that is actually a Lenormand deck. And that's, as far as we knew, that was the only book in English about. So I kind of fiddled and dabbled half-heartedly. But then actually what I'd forgotten was I realized the best way to learn is to create. So I actually created my first Lenormand deck, it was crap. And it got revised about 4 times before this finally got into print. But I realized that I kind of fiddled and dabbled in a half-hearted way over a long period of time, until all of a sudden I realized I'd fiddled and dabbled enough that I knew enough to be able to do basic readings. But actually, for me, that a great way of learning is, it's like, well, actually just start making your own deck, because the images will kind of sink in. And I think with Lenormand you could get away with that, because they're very singular images. You know, the symbolism on the card doesn't, you know, it might vary, but that doesn't affect the reading. You know, they kind of had set readings.
Right.
But yeah, I suppose I hadn't thought about that. I fiddled and dabbled from 2007 till about 2010, and then all of a sudden I realized I'd fiddled and dabbled enough that I could read with them.
Yeah.
And then I realized, then you start to realize, oh, I like this. This gives a really interesting kind of reading, and it kind of sits alongside my tarot practice. So I genuinely hadn't thought of that. But yeah, I fiddled and dabbled so that my learning process was gradual, but it was also very half-hearted and off and on. And yeah.
And I would say to that, if you want to create a deck, yes, you can do it, but there has to be a depth to it, because you did 4 edits, and then each edit there was a deeper understanding, so it was less of a dabble and more of a study.
It was all, I think it was a case that I got to a stage, I remember I kind of rattled the first version of that off within, I think, about 2 weeks, and I was kind of really thrilled with it and proud. You think, oh, I've created a deck. You know, but it's then when you've sat with that for a couple of months and you think, not that good. So you then, you know, you kind of then go back. And I think by that stage, I'd sort of learned a little bit more. So I went back, you know, started changing some of the cards, started reforming the imagery. And then it was left for about a year. And then I can remember I'd sort of got the Titania's Fortune card set at that stage, and I'd read the book. And of course, I went to do a reading with my own deck, and you think, that's not quite
right. Yeah.
Edit number 3, to which it kind of got into shape. And then, ironically, by that stage, there was more starting to come out in English. And I think there was, what was it called? And have I got it on? Here we go. I found this. It was self-published on Amazon. Absolutely wonderful book. Sylvie Steinbach's Secrets of the Lenormand Oracle. And Sylvie Steinbach is the queen of card combinations. She's amazing. She gives you an exhaustive list of card combinations, you know, for every card. So by that stage, there was more coming out. I could kind of, and I think because there was more in-depth texts coming on the market in English, that then encourages you to
get it easier.
Stop dabbling, actually just to go a little bit deeper. And ironically, it was with sort of edit number 3 that I pitched to Schiffer, and they said yes. And you think, oh God, I've got to kind of.
I really have to do something now.
I've really got to do something. I've got to ratchet this up to publishing standard. So yeah, it was a kind of, I hadn't thought about that, but sometimes fiddling and dabbling can be a good thing.
Robin says, I agree with Chris. Deck creating is its own form of fiddling and dabbling that becomes an eye-opening education.
Yes. And Robin, you don't want to see my cast-off decks that didn't make it to print, because a couple of them I'm proud of, but a couple of them we think, no.
No.
And Hilary says, sorry, Chris, jumping in there. I've just done that with the court cards as well, what I did, and I think I cracked it at least myself. That's brilliant news, and I'm glad it worked. Fantastic.
Yeah. Talking of courts, Rich, did I ever recommend this to you? This is my court card Bible.
Yes, I have that one.
You got that one? Yeah.
I bought quite a lot of books about court cards. And again, it's one of those things where it helped in many ways, but also clouded the picture. So that's one I thought, okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to build my own.
And again, you have to do your own thing.
And I love it. It always seems to work as well.
The Kate Warwick Smith one, that was all of a sudden, because I had a similar block with the court cards, but that was the one that really made the court cards make sense for me. But I think, again, we're all coming from a different perspective, and what works for one is not going to work for another, and you end up this is the beauty of it. There's no textbook, there's no definitive textbook. You just we all bring something to the table, but then we all have to take individual things off the table as well,
and it takes a little while, in some cases years, for people, including myself, to realize that you can read every single book and make a note on every single thing to do with tarot, but unless you're actually going to build it into something, it's going to stay like a 3D Star Wars Lego kit all on the floor, isn't it, Chris?
It is.
Right. I always like I always say that there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is intellectually understanding it, and wisdom is applying it correctly, applying that knowledge correctly. So,
shall we go with some more? Would you like to show us something else, Gerald? Something else that you've
sure
with?
I have dabbled here. Let me feel comfortable. Here you go. Is this better?
That's so much better. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, Rising Lotus Sanger, that you had to come in and see that at that moment.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Welcome.
I've just done
I like it. I need to have a sip after that.
Okay. Oh, Chris doesn't have his tea.
I don't. No, I haven't. I've resisted the urge to percolate, and I'm all right for the time being. So we're fine.
Russian gypsy fortune telling cards, and the idea of I have several different decks, and it is the idea of. Hang on, let's see if I can. We have this one, and then I have one that I've also purchased. So, and it's the idea of this is this one. The idea is they're the deck, or each card is separated into 4, and then you you connect 2 pieces to be able to make an image. And of course, now I cannot do that. And it's all about how you lay them out, and then you do that. And so I have dabbled in this, but I have not taken enough time to really understand it. So
I have to say, Gerald, all the lovely amount of time I've known you, years, it is something that we've often talked about, the format of this.
Yes.
And we always get to a kind of, well, that would be nice to learn that, wouldn't it, one day, and kind of back on the shelf it goes. Because there was a Lenormand, wasn't there, deck that we talked about that worked in a similar way with that one.
Which one was that? Can you remember?
I haven't got it. I can't remember.
I have it. It's Lenormand Solitaire.
Yeah, Lenormand Solitaire.
That's one I've not heard of. Wow.
It's a bit of an odd deck, this one. It's a bit of a love-hate with me. But I did buy it because of the solitaire, the layout when I was learning it. And I quite like it, but I've never used it. I've dabbled.
This is what fascinates me.
So it's like this. It's all of the images, and see if I can put 2 of them together. Oh, like this, for instance. It's like, and so when you lay them out in rows, when they match, that's what you read.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing with that is, as well, if they don't match, you have instant card combinations within those diamonds. Yeah. So I mean, it's complex, but it's that's a take on Lenormand I would never have even thought of.
It's ingenious. I think perhaps we came to it. Well, we were doing a Lenormand card class, weren't we, Gerald?
Yeah.
So we were just getting to grips with the actual cards themselves, and then to throw that into the mix was perhaps. But perhaps we should sit down and have a go at that one day, Gerald.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That reminds me of more Star Trek. who watched the last season of Picard? Because
I have not.
The Star Trek merchandisers have missed a trick, because one of the actual plot, one of the sort of things in the plot was Romulan tarot. because they had this
Oh, wow.
slightly psychotic Romulan who'd been assimilated and then de-assimilated from the Borg. So you can imagine she was a bit headfucked by that stage. But an anthropologist and with an interest in the Romulan equivalent of tarot called Pixmit. And of course, there's this fabulous scene where she's laying out all their Pixmit cards, and they're triangular and they tessellate together. And it's actually how the images join together across the cards that would give the reading.
Right.
So,
and my first longtime companion Robert had this, and he was fascinated by Russian iconography. And this book does a very nice job of it. And my own divination tool will take a bit of an approach like this.
Yeah.
But you know, it's even more complicated because depending upon the direction of it, that's the meaning. So the meanings vary depending upon the direction. So the directionality is there. So that's
that would take some time to get to grips with, wouldn't it?
Darling, could you show us a couple more cards from that? I'm fascinated to see a bit more of the artwork.
Yeah, here you go.
Okay, yeah.
I love the borders.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're
Here's
beautiful,
the back.
Beautiful, but incredibly complex at the same time.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay.
Isn't that interesting?
And again, by how you mix them and then you spread them out, you lay them out, it gives you you can rotate the cards, but you cannot move them.
The interesting thing is we've seen a lot of Lenormand symbols in there as well.
Yeah. So, well, it's a Russian gypsy fortune telling. So sorry. So it's quite lovely. But this is for my personal divination deck is sort of set up like this, and I've not created any images. I've just filled notebooks full of stuff and thoughts about it. So, but what are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at a few people here that's just coming in, so it's really nice. And so Lisa's here. Hello, Lisa. I'm just going to whiz through this one. Mark was saying he switched his focus from astrology to tarot as I wanted a more intuitive image-filled life going forward. I worked as a researcher in a photo library for 15 years, so no surprise there. Angie's here. Hi, Ange.
Hi, Ange.
And Jilly's here. So, hello, Jilly. Lovely to have you here. And all she's saying, Picard is amazing. And if I remember correctly, you were trying to get a deck published that was triangular, and you were having trouble finding someone to print it, if I remember correctly.
Now that
that's me. That's my dabble.
Yeah,
and I can understand that, because that's something that if I had that, I would end up dabbling.
Yeah,
and probably coming to the conclusion that a lot of the time that I would need to devote to it to not be a dabbler, actually I need to give to other things at the moment. So Yep.
Chris, do you have something else you dabble with you'd like to share?
I do, yeah. I'm kind of thinking which one to... Do you know what? Let's go with this. Runes.
Oh, this is good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm again, this is my second... I created a deck and gave up halfway. Because... somebody gifted me a set of runes, and they're just wow. You know, and then the whole concept, it fascinated me. I'd never really sort of engaged with them before, but they intrigued me. And I did a bit of research online, got myself a couple of books, and then, but again, I tried to run before I could walk, and then stupidly thought, right, the best way to learn is to create. So I got 12 cards in to a 24 card rune deck. Realized that actually predominantly the images were crap, because I basically hadn't researched enough. And then I got really downhearted and kind of quit. But where I'm really guilty, these things, they just refuse to let go of me. because I have been back to the rune deck and done some revisions, but then still not got, I think I'm now up to card 16. But I love every now and again, even though I haven't devoted the time to these that I should, the runes come back out and I will end up drawing 3 rune stones to go with my tarot reading or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm still at the stage where I'm having to like pull the book out and to look at the meanings. And it's a classic instance of me being arse over tit, basically trying to run before I can walk, you know, thinking.
How's that working for you, Chris? How's that working for you?
Well, darling, I didn't get to percolate, did I, before I came on here? You know? So,
Yeah.
You know, I was so late, I didn't even have time to. So this is me, you know. So actually, what I need to do with these is actually agree to myself that I'm going to set a period of time where I'm going to singularly research and connect with these and get to them, because I just so want to you know, to learn with these. And I feel I love handling my rune stones. You know, the more I read, the more fascinating. But it's a classic example of me just being impatient and not being consistent. And I'm basically trying to create a rune deck when I wasn't ready to. So
you like to fiddle with the runes while you dabble with using the runes.
Yes.
See what I did there?
You have so got me in one. You really have. Yeah.
I'm much the same with runes. I really want to use them. I really want to. I've even made my own set. I don't even know where I've put them now. I was really into them, but it was just that whole, a bit like we talked about astrology, that whole, there's a new system to have to learn, and have I got the time? And of course, we've always got time to actually, if we sat down to learn it, learn something. But of course, the moment you say, "Oh, I don't know if I've got enough time," something's ticking away in your head, going, "Do you really want to do this?" Isn't it? So it's one of those things I will have to, I'm going to put it on my list of things to do next year. I think that's probably what I need to do. And
also got triggered by 2 of my favorite tarot decks, because I mean, I love the Heindel tarot. It's not an easy deck to use, but I do love it. And also I love the Rurig tarot, which is now not very easy to get hold of, but both of them actually do feature runes. And I'd also, years ago, it's long out of print, Llewellyn put out I can't remember what deck it was called, but again, it was inspired by the Heindel with digital artwork, and it kind of sort of gathered all of these systems together. And it was, also seeing runes being used with tarot, I thought, I want to learn this system, but I just impatient and didn't actually allow myself enough time. So one of these days I will actually stop being so damned impatient. But there we go. So Calla says, maybe, Chris, but maybe that's the way you go, learning runes. Dabble first, and when you're ready, really dive in.
I like that. That's
maybe that's the case. Maybe it's just not the right time yet for me, and it will click into place when I do. And my Lenormand dabbling paid off, didn't it, eventually?
Perhaps it's just not the right time now.
Why do you say that, Chris?
Oh, darling, look at that. I wonder who created that one.
I don't know. It's Christopher Butler, so it's not Chris Butler.
Him. We don't know him.
Yeah, we don't know a Christopher Butler.
That's some old scrubber from Liverpool, apparently, isn't it?
I've heard about those.
Yeah,
Kristen in chat has or is in the process of putting together a rune oracle, and we've been following her sort of on Facebook with all the highs and the lows. So
and visualizing runes is something that fascinates me, because for me they come to life. I mean, I would love to finish my rune deck eventually, just purely and simply because I love the stones, or I love carved wooden runes, but then it's the ability to, when if you're sort of creating a deck, it's basically bringing the imagery and the symbolism and the feel and the magic of that rune into a card, which that's a challenge. And it's a challenge.
I was going to say that must be quite a massive challenge to have to try and incorporate that in.
Especially because, the symbols, how to make it into a visual, a pictorial image.
Yeah.
So because
I've got to be honest, that challenge completely stumped me and I failed miserably.
Yeah.
And that in itself, in a way, is probably a good learning experience, because you actually sometimes learning what doesn't work can be as potent as learning what does.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
So I don't see it as wasted, but I just kind of feel a bit just regretful that I'm still not there with them, and that I couldn't. I love it. You know, I kind of really envy. You know, sort of. I mean, when I started researching online, I mean, I found this wonderful, amazing site, and I don't know whether the guy's still alive. It was a guy called Oswald the Rune Maker, but it didn't take me long to realize that this guy was obviously considered to be one of the world authorities.
Yeah.
But the word rune master was used on numerous occasions, and I just thought, yeah, you know, now that is, can you imagine getting to that stage, you know, where you are, you know, adept with this incredible ancient beyond words system, you know? So, yeah, one of these days, and actually one of these days, I would have been better just, you know, getting myself some wood and actually agreeing to do something practical, just like carve my own set of runes, rather than trying to reinvent the bloody system by thinking I knew better and trying to illustrate them when I couldn't. So, you know.
Actually, it's interesting how many people are saying that they've made runes here.
Yeah, they've made a set of runes.
And I think, I felt capable of doing that. I would never make a set of cards just yet.
Did you feel more connected with them when you've made it? Several of my friends said this, that they kind of, there was something really invested in that set of runes because they knew that their own hands had created them. You know? Do
you know what I would do actually? Just saying what you've just done kind of remind me. I would probably make another set, but actually at a slower pace, because I tried to do all of them in one go.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was quick drying clay and stuff. What I would do is do a small batch and actually learn about the rune and think about it as I was making it and carving it, rather than I don't make a set of runes and then put them. And I think that way would really help understanding it that way.
You know what we need? If I'm ever traveling down south, or you and hubby are ever traveling north, we need a rune making weekend.
Ooh.
Now that's what you're thinking, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Go somewhere special to make them as well.
Yeah.
Rune making weekend. You heard it here first.
The band's out.
Oh, I'm excited by that one.
Yeah.
Go at midnight to Stonehenge to carve them. Oh, that's going a bit too far, isn't it?
That is going a bit too far, Richie. I mean, jeez.
We're probably going to end up somewhere less glamorous, like Bognor or Southend.
That's fine. We can go to Clacton, somewhere like that. It's great. Runes were my first love many years ago, and I was very young, says Hillary. Still, I have them, but tarot has pretty pictures.
It does. You see, this is the other thing with runes. I love them. They intrigue me. But the problem is the tarot just wins me back over, and it's my comfort zone, and it's just so rich and full and multi-layered. And if I'm honest, when I get lazy, I just go back to my tarot decks.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It says exactly what you did with your Lenormand. It's not screwing around. It's a learning style. We've got a question coming in. We've got a question coming in from Chris about your Lenormand card. The cards are a fair bit bigger than your standard Lenormand card. What were your thoughts behind doing this?
Oh, now this is a difficult one because my publisher.
Would you like me to answer that? Would you like me to answer that?
No, I'll answer this one.
Okay.
That was actually my publisher's decision, and I think they'd kind of worked on a various amount of feedback, and they'd adopted that size at the time, and I think it's got its pros and cons. The interesting thing is they now produce both large size and small size decks. So the upside, I've had a lot of people tell me that where they find my cards useful is if they've got the space and they're laying out a grand tableau, they'll very often use my cards to denote the Lenormand houses in a grand tableau, and then they'll lay the smaller ones out on top of them. Upside for me as a selfish artist, the artwork looks much bigger when it's printed big.
Of course,
downside, you need a big table for a grand tableau. Upside, if you're doing 6-card readings, 9-card readings, you know, you can still fit those on the table and they've got a bit more visual impact. It was kind of out of my hands, which as an artist very often it is when, it's when you're dealing with a commercial publisher, because it's
Right.
very often they've got set policies and set styles. But again, it was one of those matters of taste. So yeah, it's interesting because I mean, this deck was printed playing card size. This deck was printed Oracle size.
Yeah.
It's kind of a difficult one to call a judgment on, because ironically, this is still one of my best-selling decks. So I was a little bit hesitant about them putting them out bigger, because my own take on Lenormand is that they're smaller, but they got something right, because it's sort of it's this. To be honest, this has done a lot better than I expected it to, because at one stage it was outselling the Quantum Tarot, which really shocked me.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? But yeah, it was. I mean, I'm happy with the finished result, but it was. I hadn't. It was something that was discussed later on in the in the sort of production process, when they told me that they were going to go for this larger size. So I can understand that some people won't like it because it's not as easy to lay out a grand tableau. But then there's other people that have kind of they like the visual impact of it. So swings and roundabouts. Yeah,
of course.
I'm just going to go through some comments. Thank you for that, Chris. Thank you for the question, Chris, as well.
Thank you.
Chris's. Deb says putting energy into them by making them. Jilly says that she uses shells she found on the beach. That's a nice idea.
Oh, wow.
Runes. Tony says runes are meant to be created for the reading and then discarded. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And Hilary is quite taken with the idea of runes at the pub.
I like.
There you go.
Yeah, because you don't get. This is the thing. You don't get. This is. You get psychic night at a pub. Everyone expects the tarot reader. Could you imagine going in there with runes? That'd throw everyone, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And Ginny's now got very excited about a rune making weekend.
Oh, now we've got everyone thinking we should
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm loving it. Robin says, I think I'd be more drawn to picture stones like the images of Mildred's Pocket Oracle. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a great deck. Mildred Payne's, what is it? Mildred Payne's, is it Pocket Oracle? I can't remember. But I
think it's Pocket
I've not
Oracle.
got it. I've seen it online, but I love Patrick Valenta. I just think he's a genius.
Yeah. Grand Tableau Schmando. I can't say that, Chris. Schmando. I'm trying to say. Schmando. That's triple. Anyway, the images are beautiful. Thanks for giving such a detailed answer. I'm going to do my last one.
Go on.
Because we've had a lovely evening. My dabble, and we've kind of talked a little bit about it this evening, it is, sadly, Oracle cards in general.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. I'm always on the hunt for an Oracle card Oracle deck that I can feel like I could use on a regular basis. I think my relationship with Oracle cards and I've done a couple of lives about this, has changed over the years. I always thought they were the poor man's tarot for people that didn't want the bad news. They just wanted everything prettified, and of course that's totally wrong. And I learned that another way. So my relationship with Oracle cards is that I'm always on the hunt for beautiful artwork, and I will pick them up and I will add them into a tarot reading. But it's very rarely that I'll sit down and just use them as a read. I've never actually read Oracle cards laid out more than one. I've never done a full reading with them. And these ones, I mean, a good example. I pull every Friday after work. I come home and I always pull a Druid animal card for the following week. I've done it today. So I use this deck. It's probably the most used deck that I have, and yet I can't. I don't know what to do with it. I can't use it for anything else. It's really strange. So I dabble with them, most definitely, but that's about as far as I ever go with it. I'm going to just add it as a nicety or a bit of decoration into a tarot reading. So I've got to work on my relationship still with Oracle cards. I do love them, and I have bought quite a lot of them, and I do absolutely love things like this, you know. But again, a bit like you were saying about the Wildwood book, Gerald, you know, this is a beautiful deck, but my God, you have to have a sort of degree in botany to be able to begin to work with it, you know. And that's a shame. And what I don't like, and what I do tend to do with Oracle decks, is to pull them and then go flipping through the guidebook that comes with them. And I don't like doing that with card readings. I like to be able to use my intuition. And unfortunately, because I don't know that much about birds and animals, and I don't know that much about, you know, the themes of these decks, I don't have the time. And I should, I suppose, devote more time to 2 or 3 decks that I
this
red light chiller coming in.
Go on.
I get very frustrated when people are using an Oracle deck online and they're doing readings, and then they read me the book. I mean, to me, I also struggle a little bit with Oracle cards or Oracle decks. But I feel for me, they're an intuitive response. What is my intuition telling me from that image and that keyword? So I struggle a little bit when I'm getting just the book definition and not the intuitive flash. So I put the bitchy alert card away.
No, I like that. I think it's very honest to say that, because that is how I feel about anything like that. If I feel like I have to go and reach for the guidebook, even if it's a tarot deck sometimes, and I'm like, well, I've got no idea what that image is meaning, they've changed it or whatever, I can't give a reading to somebody or do an interpretation if I'm not solid in what I know about it. I would feel like a complete fraud in that many ways. And that's quite a heavy word to use there. But I wouldn't feel comfortable with doing that, because each one of these has got its own special meaning that you have to work with for quite a period of time to unlock it.
And I'm not discounting using the book.
No.
But I like a combination. I don't want, you know, that's with like the tarot. If you look at it visually, what is it telling you? And then can you apply what you have learned about the structure of the tarot? So,
and then you've got the thing about how many cards an oracle, you know, you can pay a fortune and get 20 cards, or you can buy something that's, you know, reasonable and get, you know, 50 or 60 cards, and that's brilliant. But 50 or 60 cards is an awful lot of me, and I do tend to not buy oracles that have keywords on them as well. So again, that's another thing I don't do. So I have to work with it. Again, something to do next year. I'm just
it's really interesting, because I mean, you've both got, it's a similar response to me, because I really struggle, and I have a couple of oracle decks that I work with, but for very specific reasons. I mean, I work with this, I love it, and to me this is a stroke of genius. But one of the reasons why Ciro Marchetti's Oracle of Visions works for me in a way that other oracle decks don't is what it fascinated me when he was creating this. One of the first things he said is, I've written the book and that's my take on the cards, but actually what I'm encouraging you to do is just throw the book away and work intuitively with them. So primarily these are basically meant to work as intuitive triggers. And I find that one of the reasons but I'm like you, I can only dabble with this. One of the reasons it works is if I've got a bit of a blind spot in a tarot reading, very often what I'll do is I'll then just pick a couple of supplementary cards from this and then sit with the images for a while and just see what triggers me. And that works beautifully. But I'm just really frustrated that, like you, I've never found an oracle deck that I can actually work with as fluently as I can work with a tarot deck or a Lenormand deck. And also as an artist, it's kind of one of my big frustrations is that I've never created an oracle deck because I'm not, you know, I work brilliantly within systems. I was able to create a couple of Lenormand decks because I love the system. It's coherent. I've learned to read with it fluently. Tarot gives you a framework. You know, you're reinterpreting tried and tested archetypes. I have actually illustrated an oracle deck, but somebody else scripted that, you know, so that's I've got halfway because, you know, I've been able to illustrate somebody else's ideas. But in terms of, I admire Oracle creators because they have to create the system from scratch.
Right. Yeah.
But then I think Oracle decks are incredibly unique and individual, and finding one that is unique and individual for you is not always an easy thing to do.
Yep.
So again, I'm a dabbler, you know, and I pick and choose. These are two. I mean, the other two that I love the side cards, and again, I will draw from these to supplement a reading, or the fabulous Madame Endora's fortune cards. But they're my 3 Oracle decks, and when I kind of think of the extensiveness of my tarot collection, it speaks volumes that ultimately I've got about 6 Oracle decks. I've got about 3 that I return to regularly. But then again, I kind of pick and dabble and fiddle and so
Well, and I'm thinking,
what's that?
You said you're picking your fiddling and your dabbling. I never mentioned anything about picking. No, I'm live altogether.
I multitask brilliantly, love.
Well, and you know, Orshi is in the chat, and then there's the, you know, so there's the zombie oracle, the building relationship, the interconnection, and the zoracle.
Yeah.
You know, I think those work for me, especially. I can mix those a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
I'll just reiterate again, I admire anyone who can create an Oracle deck. In some ways, I admire them more than people who can create a tarot deck.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm reinterpreting 78 images, whereas for them, they're scripting the images from scratch, working the system out, and then you've got to put the visuals to them. Wow.
Totally agree.
That's endurance, you know, and creativity. So, which is, you know, kind of why this is kind of one of my most admired decks, and it's my favorite of all of Ciro Marchetti's stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love his tarot decks and work with them, but for me, this was his stroke of genius, and I do absolutely love this. You'd love it. You'd love it because no keywords, no titles. You basically, each card is numbered, but in the way the numbers are also purchased responsibly, darling. Yeah, but you see. They're just meant to be. The idea is that you draw the card and there's so many elements in these and little hidden details. He encourages you to just go with whatever triggers you in the image. The guidebook is there if you want to refer to it, but then he also encourages you just to go with your own intuition. So it is
in that deck.
I think this is 50 cards. Okay. So it's quite a. I think it's 50, but it's quite yeah. And I mean, as far as his artwork goes, I mean, it's just always glorious, isn't it? But I think that he really, for me, he just surpassed himself here. It's just an absolute, it's a visual feast. Yeah.
Well, when we do our Marchetti live at some point, we'll have to be talking about that. I think that's probably going to run over into quite a few different episodes, that one there.
That probably yeah,
I noticed a lot of people have got the same kind of reactions that we've been talking about to Oracle.
Interesting.
Deb says, I think the book is for learning, but if you're going to read for someone, it should be intuitive. That's what you said, Gerald. There. Fran says, not liking going into the book all the time. Robin says, I feel like if the image doesn't tell it, then the image doesn't sell it, and the creator didn't do their job properly. I think even Wade said it all about his images.
Images, absolutely.
Hillary says, my oracles are just for fun. So like in the Arboretum, a hare will tell me a little story. I grew up Beatrix Potter, Little Grey Rabbit.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And Robin says, I like the decks without words too. A keyword can be acceptable, but a paragraph, I know. No, can't do it.
Funnily enough, I don't like supplementary keywords on tarot decks. It's one of the deal breakers for me. There's so many beautiful decks out there, theme decks, but extra keywords really start to get in the way from it. Again, it's a matter of personal taste.
Right. Yeah, it draws your eye away.
Yeah.
And Orshi, who has made some oracles, so free oracles are easy. Tarot is a hard one.
How interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can kind of understand that without being able to relate to it or emphasize it, because again, it just shows, we're all coming from different perspectives and with different strengths.
Right. Very
This
much.
is the beauty of it. Yeah.
Chris has asked, become Richie ruins rune made from seashells that she shells on the seashore. There you go, I did it for you.
Wow.
Oh, go girl.
And Jilly is asking the question that so many people seem to be asking. It's on everybody's lips right now. Like brothers.
Yes.
Are we long lost, love? I think we might
Very
be.
lost,
Yeah.
I would say.
Very lost. Wandering around looking for runes.
I'm going to call it a halt here because I think we could carry on talking for hours
We
about
probably
it.
could. And we probably did that last night, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
So
I need to kind of cultivate better time management.
It's fine. Well, the thing, what I found brilliant this evening is that from something that was a bit of fun that Gerald and I were going, and let's be honest, an hour ago I was like, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about tonight. It's went into this fantastic conversation that's been really fruitful, entertaining, and it's been fantastic. So thank you very much. Gerald, what are you up to this week or next week?
Well, actually, in just about an hour, I am on Artists and Oracle's website or channel, and Donna has asked me to be her first interview that she's doing. So everything after that will work beautifully. And then on Saturday, we all heard this, I have a deck casual with the Anna K.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with the three girls, one deck.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be fun. And then on Monday with Sadhana, Integrative Healing with Sadhana, we are doing a laugh and learn.
Wow.
We are doing a laugh and learn about breathing.
Oh.
So, and then I have this thing, I've been avoiding it. It's a deck casual on Tuesday, 12th of April, 9 p.m. British Summer Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight, and 1 p.m. Pacific. And so Chris, Nancy, Richie, and I will be talking about the Quantum Tarot version 2.0.
Yeah.
So.
And I might just bring a few printouts of some outtakes and some first editions and some pre-published bits.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So if everybody likes and subscribes, yeah, they can do that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Fabulous.
Subscribe. Chris, what about you? I mean, have you got anything else in the pipeline this week? I know that you're doing the Tuesday.
I'm doing the Tuesday, but other than that, just Tuesday with Gerald this week. This week's a bit of a busy one for me in other ways, so I'm not going to get a chance to do much else on YouTube, but I've been working on an Oracle deck project that hopefully in a couple of weeks I should be able to make an announcement about.
Yeah,
so that's going to take up the bulk of my week next week. So, but we did say if I can basically entice you two darlings back onto my YouTube channel at some stage, should we chat in the week?
I think we could probably fit that one in somehow.
Are you just talking to Richie, or are you including me in that? Because I was finding the link to artists. Yeah, okay. I was just finding the link to Donna's channel, so it's Artists and Oracles, and I put it in the description.
So I will very specifically send you my gilt-edged invitation cards. How does that sound?
Hand delivered.
Ooh.
Hand delivered, yeah.
Lots of people have been saying lots of lovely things. So Jones has been fun. Or she says thank you. Fran says thank you so much. Lovely questions. Liz, I've remembered it's Liz. Thank you, Richie, Chris, and Gerald. Joan says, will you put the channel for your next chat today in the description for this one?
I put it in the chat.
Lovely. Chris, break out his whiteboard and get some equations on the go. Yes. And we want you in a mortarboard, I think, and a gown for it, actually.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how to share them, I don't know how to share my screen with other people, so that'll be scary.
Deb says thank you. Laura says this is a wonderful reason to procrastinate my work this afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you. You're very welcome.
That's lovely.
There's the link there. And will there be cake, Chris, for this one?
I think there might be cake immediately after this session, as I basically sort of roughed it without tea. So yeah, there will I'll definitely be bringing cake on Tuesday. Is that all right?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Got it there. Diesel Girl says great show today. Thank you very much. And Ellie says thank you again. Food for thought. Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. I couldn't say it better myself. I will be on the Casual on Tuesday, and Thursday I am with Chris of Elemental Cartomancy on his round table, or around his round table, I should say. So look out for that one. So have a lovely weekend, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you all so much, and take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.